welcome to another episode of Homework with Ms. Thomas. I am Ms. Thomas, and today we will be exploring Lesson 17. The objective is to solve additive compare word problems modeled with a tape diagram. Let's jump right into it. So for each of these, we are drawing a tape diagram to represent each problem. We're going to use numbers to solve and write an answer statement. For number 1, Gavin has 1,094 toy building blocks. Avery only has 816 toy building blocks. How many more building blocks does Gavin have? So we know that Gavin has 1,094. Avery only has 816. Since we're comparing these two amounts, I'm going to do a tape diagram for both of these people. One for Gavin and one for Avery. Gavin's bar is going to be longer because he has more. He has 1,094. I'm going to make Avery's, and I'm going to make sure that I line up Avery's so that starts right where Gavin starts. His is shorter. He has 816. They want to know how many more. That's this space here between where Avery stops and where Gavin stops. This is the more part. This is the more. This is how much more Gavin has, and we don't know it. So I'm going to add on a space to Avery. I'm going to call it X. In this instance, 1,094, that's the total. This here, 816, that's one part. And here is the other part. If you know a part and you don't know, and you know the total, you know one part and you don't know the other, you subtract. So we're going to subtract 1,094 minus 816. I can't do 4 minus 6, so I'm going to take from the 9, it becomes 8. The 4 becomes 14. Now, I can't do 0 minus 8, so I'm going to take from the 1, and the 0 becomes 10. Now I can subtract. 14 minus 6 is 8. 8 minus 1 is 7. 10 minus 8 is 2. So, Gavin has 278 more blocks than Avery. All right, you want to make sure that you add an answer statement. And here's mine. Let's go on to number 2. Number 2, container B holds 2,391 liters of water. Together, container A and container B hold 11,875 liters of water. How many more liters of water does container A hold than container B? All right, so they tell us that B holds 2,391. A, they don't tell us what it holds, right? They don't give us that. But they do tell us that A and B hold 11,875. We have to figure out how many more A is compared to B. So I know A is more than B. So I'm going to put A's longer than B's. I'm lining up the tape diagrams. They tell us that B is 2,391. They don't tell us what A is, so I'm going to put A. They tell us together that it is 1,875. So in order to get A, I'm going to subtract from the total of 11,875 minus the part that I know, 2,391. Now that doesn't answer the question. They didn't ask, what does A hold? They asked, how many more liters of water does A hold? That more part is this extra space, this space between where B ends and where A ends. So I'm going to add a space on to B. And that represents the more part. We have B, and then we have how much more it takes to make all of A. So in order to get X, which is really what the question is asking us, I'm going to subtract from the total. Here, the total is A. See both of those tape diagrams, they equal A minus the part that I know, which is 2,391. And that will give us the answer to this question of how many more liters. Let's subtract. We have 11,875 minus 2,391. I can't do 7 minus 9, so I'm going to cross out the 8, make it 7. This 7 becomes 17. Now I can subtract. We got 6, 8, 4, and 11 minus 2 is 9. So that's what A equals. A equals 9,486. Now I need to see how much more. So I'm going to take that 9,486 and subtract 2,391. I can't do 8 minus 9, so I'm going to cross out the 4, make it 3, and the 8 becomes 18. Now I can subtract. 5, 9, 0, 7. All right, so now I do have an answer statement, but I did catch a mistake that I made. 5 minus 1 is not 6. It is 4. And so this is not a 6, it's a 4. And then 4 minus 1 is not 5, it is 3. Container A holds 7,093 more liters of water than container B. A piece of yellow yarn is 230 inches long. After 90 inches has been cut from it, the yellow piece of yarn has twice as long as the piece of blue yarn. At first, how much longer was the yellow yarn than the blue yarn? All right, a lot of steps in here. Let's do a tape diagram to help us make sense of all of this. We have the yellow yarn is 230. So I'm going to write yellow and it's 230. They tell us that 90 inches was cut off. So I'm going to cut off a piece of it and I'm going to write 90 underneath it. Then they say the piece of yellow yarn was twice as long as this blue yarn. So let's do blue. And the yellow is twice as long as the cut off part, right? I'm sorry, the blue is twice as long as the cut off part. We don't know what the blue is. They are asking how much longer the yellow is. At first, from the at first, how much longer was the yellow yarn? So I'm going to add on a space. And that is my X. So first, I need to cut off this 90 inches, right? I need to figure out what Y is after there's cutoff, right? So let's just, let's call it Y for yellow. We will do 230 minus 90, right? So let's set that up and do that. 1, 13, 4, 1. Okay, so we have 140. 140 is already doubled. So in order to undouble it, I'm going to do half of it. Half of 140 is 70. So that is what blue equals. So again, to get the blue, I did 140 or whatever y was, right? We didn't know y initially or y after it was cut. I divided that by 2. Now I know that B is 70. Well, that still doesn't answer my question of what this extra part is. So in order to get that x, I'm going to subtract. Now they said at first, so then I know the total is what it was at first, which is 230, minus the part that I know, which is 70. 230 minus 70 is 60. Sorry, 160. Now let's write an answer statement. The yellow yarn is 160 inches longer than the blue yarn. All right, that does it for this lesson 17. Thanks so much for watching. Till the next time, keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.